Hey friends, so today we are going to make a wreath. I love using my Cricut to make gifts for people, and my sweet cousin is getting married, so I thought how fun it would be to make a wreath for her front door with her new last name. So let's hop over to Design Space. I'll show you how to pull in the designs. I have a couple of different choices for you, and you can download those down below in the description, and then we'll pop over to the craft table and we'll put it all together. So now we're in Cricut Design Space, and what I've done is I've uploaded the design that I'm giving to you for free. So let's walk through that for a second. So if you go over to upload and you'll see image or pattern fill, I'm giving you a free image. Actually, I'm giving you a PNG, an SVG, and a JPEG, so you can use the one that works best for you. I always use the SVG. So I have it here. So what you would do is you would hit upload, go to your computer, and grab that file that you saved. So we'll go and then you would touch or click on the welcome and hit insert images. Because it's already on my mat, I'm just going to hit cancel. Okay, so with this image, and I went ahead and added, so the file I'm giving you is welcome. There's also welcome home and home sweet home. So for this one though, I've gone ahead and added my friend's or my cousin's family name. And so I've already got it already centered and everything's kind of the way that I would like for it to be. But now what you need to do is you need to know how large you want this to be. So when we get over to the craft table, you've already measured your hoop. I'm using a wooden hoop. So what you want to do is, I know that my wooden hoop is 18 inches across. So this is a little trick that I like to do. So I go to images and, oh sorry, eek, wrong one, not images. I go to shapes and I grab a circle. Okay, so once my circle pops in, I'm going to reduce the size of my mat so we can easily see it. And then I'm going to take my circle, and here I know it's 18 inches. So I'm going to make it 18, which of course is quite large. And then I'm going to go to arrange, send to back, and I'm going to grab my design. Okay, so this is the actual size of what it's going to be. Okay, so with my design here, I want to make this, let's make it 12. If you get above 12, the problem with that is, of course, that you're going to have to use a 12 by 24 mat. And you can do that, of course, but if you just stay slightly under 12, and I would recommend 11.5, then you're going to be able to use the normal size mat and use your iron-on. Okay, and so that looks pretty good, right? Because we're going to have florals here and ribbon. So welcome to the spray berries. So now what you want to do is, for this design, if you've already added your text like I have for the person's name, you just want to make sure that you hit attach, which I've done. So you see this says detach, but it would say attach if you haven't done that. You attach it so when it goes over to the mat, it's all together. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so now we're on the mat, and as you can see, when we did an 11.5, I mean, it really takes it right to the edge because you have a little bit of space over here and a little over here. So 11.5 is like a safe zone. Okay, so now we're going to make this with iron-on. So make sure anytime you're doing an iron-on project, you always mirror your image. Okay, so we've done that. Then we'll select continue. And now is when you're going to be able to connect your machine if it's not already connected, and you'll also be able to select your material that you want to use. And I'm thinking that we'll use a glitter, like a black glitter iron-on. So it's trying to find my maker, and as soon as it does, then we'll select our material and we'll get moving. My maker's connected, and now I can select my materials. And so this is what I've set up as my favorites. If you don't see the one that you want to use, which I'm using glitter iron-on, then you can, whoops, I probably should have showed you, watch. Browse all materials is going to give you that big master list where you can see tons of Cricut product and things that are not Cricut product but that they have tested. So for today, we're going to use glitter iron-on. Okay, so it's going to use my fine point blade, which is already in my machine. And so now I'm going to go over and put my material on my mat and we'll cut it out. So I've loaded my mat and I've cut out my piece of fabric or my piece of iron-on, which is about 12 inches by 6 inches. So So I put a little bit more on it, like 6 1/4, just to make sure that nothing runs off of the piece. And so now it's going to cut out our design. Let me give you a quick run through of what's on the craft table. So I'm going to be using an embroidery hoop for our wreath form. I have a clear ruler. I have fabric, and this is what we're going to iron onto. Of course, I have the iron-on. This is the glitter Cricut iron-on. I have a self-healing mat because I'm going to need to cut out the fabric once we iron on our design. And then I also have a rotary blade to do that with. I have some florals. I think I said I had my ribbon, I have hot glue, and I also have my EasyPress and my EasyPress mat. So I'm going to now bring over the cut that we just did on the maker, and we'll weed that and show you how easy that is. When weeding, I really like to start with the small pieces because I don't want to forget them. So like the insides of lettering and that kind of thing. And so I will start with those and get those out first. And then I will just go over to the side and pull the big piece or the big element. And you'd be amazed what pulls away without even needing a tool. So now that I've weeded the entire design, welcome to the spray berries, I'm going to set that to the side and I'm going to take out my fabric. I like to iron onto my fabric before I cut it because then that way I'm not worried about things being centered and that kind of thing. What I do like to do though is I'll kind of spread it out a little bit and I'll go ahead and use my EasyPress to iron out any wrinkles, and then I'll place my design knowing that I'm going to need it a little bit larger, you know, than my hoop's going to be. And then I'll place my design, iron it down, and then we will cut it out on the hoop. So let's start by using our EasyPress just to get out some of those wrinkles. And this mat that I'm on, this is actually an EasyPress mat, and it's made specifically for this size of EasyPress, which is the largest one that Cricut currently makes. With the fabric ironed, I'm going to place my hoop over the fabric. I know there's extra on either side, which is great. Might pull it over a little bit so I waste a little bit less. Okay, and then I'm going to take my design and place it somewhat in the center. I can measure and make sure it's perfect later, but I'll go ahead and iron this down here. So I can take that off. And with glitter, you check, I'll put the link down below in the description, but if you check on the Cricut site, it's an EasyPress guide, and it basically tells you for the type of material you're using and the type of material you're applying it to, what temperature to make your EasyPress. And so for glitter, in this 100% cotton, it's 330 degrees for 30 seconds. So I'm gonna place it over top of my design. And the nice thing about this EasyPress is that it is large enough to go over the entire design at one time. And then I'm going to apply light pressure and let the EasyPress do its magic. Now once this gets to 30, I'm going to flip my fabric and do it on the opposite side as well for 15 seconds. Okay, so it's done. And so what you want to do is when you peel off, you're going to peel at an angle and sort of check your design as you go. If for some reason it's still attached and doesn't want to come away easily, then just put it back in place and do it again. This one's coming off really, really well. Ta-da! Oh, that looks so nice. So our next step is going to be to place our hoop and to measure to make sure that we're the same spatially on each side. Now this word has kind of like a little curly Q piece. I'm not going to count the entire curl because if I do, then it's really going to look lopsided. So as I measure, I'm going to say about 4 inches on this side and about 4 here, which will cut it off right kind of at that loop. And then when it comes to this direction, so vertical, I am not going to place it completely in the center just because I'm going to put florals and ribbon up here that's going to kind of take up some of that space, and I don't want it to hide my welcome lettering. Okay, so I think it's about perfect. What we want to do now is we want to cut out our fabric the size of our hoop. It's super important that you hold down your hoop and that you don't allow it to shift. You could also, and this would be something my mom would, I'm sure, recommend that I do, you could also take a pencil and go around this and mark it and then cut around the pencil marking. So I've done this a couple of times, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it all the way around. But if you're a little nervous, use a pencil. And remember, you can always cut off more, but you can't put the fabric back. Okay, friends, so my mom is definitely going to fuss at me. So use a pencil and mark your fabric before you cut it out. Okay, so now we have this perfect circle and we have our hoop. See how nice that's going to look? And we're gonna take hot glue. Of course, I have to get it to the right center spot. Probably use my ruler one more time. Get it to the right spot, and then we're going to hot glue the fabric onto the back of our hoop. And then we will embellish it with some florals and things. It's gonna be really pretty. My glue gun is now hot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up my hoop and tack down the fabric so that I can flip it over and do the rest of the fabric. But I want to make sure that it doesn't shift while I'm working on it. Fabric is all hot glued down, and now what I want to do is I want to take my rotary blade and just trim out any excess. So there was a little bit left over on this one edge. I'm going to take that off, and then we are going to move right on to flowers. Now for the florals, and the thing I like most about this part is it's completely your opinion. Like whatever you think looks the best is what you do. But you can take things like these little sprays. I like these because they're a really bright color and they have little gold flakes in them or flecks in them. But you could place them, you know, on either side with hot glue. Of course, we'd have to trim them, you know, trim them up. But you could place them on either side, or you could take something like this, which is also a greenery, and I'm sticking with green just because I don't know what their home decor is or what their front door looks like. But you could do something like this, of course trimming off the stem, and then if you wanted to, you know, especially for your own home, because you know what colors you want to use, you could put a nice pretty large flower in the center. I am going to stick with just green and black, which is my absolute favorite right now. And I think I'm going to use a black and white ribbon just because it's classic. But basically I'm going to use floral snips and snip these a little bit and hot glue them in place. That's why I love this kind of hoop, because you have a large surface to hot glue things to. And I'm going to hot glue that in place, and then I'm going to add my ribbon, and we'll call this cutie done. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed making that wreath with me. I hope that you will hop down below and get the cut files that I have for you, and make sure you ring the bell and hit my subscribe button and join me every week for new ideas. You are crafting with Kim Byers at the Celebration Shop, and I'll see you next time.